there's a life I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold. Things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Time's gone by, I've traded like dirt into clay. I thought my memories would end. One street over's now 1,000 miles away. When I close my eyes, I'm back to where I've been. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today.
Oh, let's go ahead and let's interrupt the guys. Good morning. How you doing, y'all? This is 1100 WSB. I'm Nicole Laverne, and this is one street over. I've missed you guys. I've been off since Friday, man. That's kind of unusual for me. You're going to find me doing that more and more because I've got Lee Marie who can fill in for me. And I don't know, since I've taken on this role of being a teacher, I'm just kind of appreciate the fact that maybe I need to take a break every now and then because teaching is exhausting. And it's all good. And I just am so glad to be back. Danavan Hylton's in the house. Good morning. Yeah, I'm just becoming, I'll take a day off here and there. And, I don't know. I'm just kind of at that place that I feel like I need to get better at Sabbath. And we could get into a Bible lesson here about how God calls us to rest, and I'm not very good at it, and neither is my husband. And we're trying to realize, especially as we get older, that you need to have a moment of Shabbat. And you need to rest. And I don't know, I'm kind of mindful of a lot of those kinds of things because my friends are in Israel right now. Ilya Maldonado, the Ebenezer Church, they have taken a group. And our friend Gwen Harder is there. And I'm just living vicariously through them and all the things that they're putting up. But it's just a wonderful thing. And so it just kind of makes me mindful of what God's called us to. And He's not called for us just to work. He's called us to take a moment. And so, I've got this great job now as a teacher that offers me days off every now and then, structured, and I'm like, I think I'm going to take a day off from radio every now and then too. So, Lee Marie, thank you for filling in yesterday, and I appreciate it, but I'm glad to be back. I'm not planning on taking any more time off until, we won't be here Thanksgiving Day, of course, and the day after Thanksgiving, I won't be here. I will offer it to Lee Marie, so she may pop in. I'll probably take a few days off around Christmas, of course, but we're going to be here, and I'm already booking the show. One thing I'll say, Donovan, he's one of our regulars. He comes in on the second Wednesday of the month.
Correct.
First Wednesday is always Terry Wilson checking in with our veterans, and Veterans Day is Friday. Get that in mind. I would have loved to. Terry ended up having to miss last week, so we didn't get to get the full slate of all the events that are going on with Veterans Day as it approaches this year. Remember, it is on Friday. We got a lot of stuff going on at our school, and I know all the other schools as well. So all of that's going on, but we'll try to get Terry in here maybe next week for just a quick hit to kind of see what's going on with the Veteran Service Office. But again, those are some of my reoccurring guests. We've got, of course, Dr. Chris Causey with School Board comes in. We have Billy Vogel, Mayor Billy Vogel, that comes in on a regular basis. Brian Pooley and Tiffany Thompson, they come in from United Way. And now we've added to that regular rotation Jamie Nixon. And he is going to take on the slot. Of course, we have John Rose. We'll talk to him, Caleb Stratton. I'm forgetting some of them. All the folks that are Jessica with Sheriff's Office and just the different ones that come in on a regular basis. But we've added Jamie Nixon, who is the sports guy out at East Robertson. Well, he approached me. I met him through Trent Cobb. And he mentioned to me that he would like to start doing something on a regular basis. So we thought, okay, we can do something first Monday, just kind of a big hour section where he can talk about all the things going on in the in the county. Well, then we want to bring him in once a week just to kind of say, okay, here are the games going on, and this is it. So he's going to take that 7 o'clock slot, 7 to 7:30. Instead of having the business of the week, we're just going to have that kind of float that we'll bring businesses in whenever we have the opportunity to. But we're going to let Jamie have that slot because that's something that's been missing from this programming is the local high school and just sports. We talked to Terry Martin about all the city sports and those kinds of things. Oh, and Ryan Martin, he's another one of our regulars, comes in after the mayor and alderman meeting on the Wednesday following. But we haven't really done a good job in a long time of covering the county with sports. Jamie has stepped up and said, hey, I'll do that for you. So, and it's all my Greenbrier people are going, but he's from East Robertson. Well, here's the thing. He is the one who approached me about doing it, and he is going to reach out to all the people at the other schools that also do what he does. And, I haven't met the guys that do it at Greenbrier. There's a voice of the Bobcats. And so I need to meet him and talk to him, and we'll invite him in. But it's going to be a regular thing where we're really reaching into the county and finding out what's going on, because so often we'd have a championship and I didn't even know about it because I don't really have a dog in the race. I do now with Greenbrier, but so I didn't really follow the sports I'm just not a sports person. And so I like to play sports, but not now because I'm getting too old. But when my kids were on the field, where I was out there, yay. But it's just not my thing. Yeah. So I need somebody to guide me. Thank you, Jamie, for stepping up to that role. We will hear from him again. We just talked to him on Monday, but we're going to talk to him again on Tuesday or Thursday at 7. I'm so sorry. This has been such a weird week. But we're going to talk to him again on Thursday, 7 to 7:30. Just kind of a reminder of what he went through on Monday, talking about how we've got 2 football teams still in the playoffs, and that would be Springfield and East Robertson. If you want to see a playoff game locally, you can do that at East Robertson on Friday night, and Jamie will talk more about that. So, unpacking all that, thank you to my regular guests because it just helps keep things flowing here. Makes it just work very well. And hi, how y'all doing? So that's what we've got going on. One other person that I want to tell you about that I've got on the calendar now is I talked with Tommy Marsh, blues man, Crooked Eye Tommy, yesterday. I love Tommy Marsh. I love his music. But he won an award a few weeks ago at Josie, I guess, and just kind of cool stuff. And he's getting ready to go in the studio and do some recording. He's got a song that we're going to do our best to help him with a little music video at our audio video department in Audio Video 2 next year. At least that's the tentative plan. We haven't locked it all up yet, but I mentioned that to him. But I said, you need to come in and talk about your award and all those things going on. And so we've got him, we think, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
I see.
So that'll be a lot of fun. So looks like that's the tentative plan. If he can work it out with work, that he's going to come in the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and we're going to take an hour, and of course he'll play some music, and we'll have some fun, and just kind of check in with him and see what's going on. So that's kind of unpacking some of the things that are coming up. So Donovan, I get a message from you. What are we going to talk about? What are we going to talk about? And then you sent me this wonderful list of all these things that you want to cover. So, good morning, hello, and it's all yours, my friend.
Good morning, U-Turn. Thank you
Good
for having
morning.
me.
Absolutely. You're sleepy, though. You were at Mark Green's celebration last night.
Yes. And that wrapped up, for me, about 10:30.
Ooh.
Got home about
That's
11.
way past my bedtime.
You and I
get up at
both.
4.
You and I.
So,
And come to find out, I guess, respectfully, in Nashville, they can't give the official votes until everyone has cast their ballot. And so Nashville folks were still voting, I believe, after 7 because the lines were so long. So,
Sure.
And I believe respectfully, Representative did not want to get out there and give his speech or
Right.
anything until he knew for sure. So
Right.
It was a late night. And good morning to you again. Thank you for having
morning,
me. And
absolutely.
before I jump into anything, and you mentioned the word, I believe you mentioned the word in Hebrew, peace, or
Shabbat. Shabbat is
Okay.
rest. Shabbat.
Shabbat.
Or Sabbath. But
Okay.
we've in Israel it would be Shabbat. That's how they say it. One of the teachers who I do a lot of deep study, and I may bring some of that to you Friday, guys. I'm just working on it. I don't know, but I'll talk about that later. But one of the teachers who I study deeply is Christy McClellan, and she oftentimes will use the pronunciations that they would use in Israel rather than what our common pronunciations would be here. So Sabbath in Israel is Shabbat. So
Well, let the
that's
record
right.
show that I would be open to joining in any teaching and education because I love to get respectfully the deeper meanings of things. And so I know the Bible in English, it's a great version, but I know that, it's written in Hebrew as well. And so I would love just to know, I would
Hebrew
love
and
to
Greek.
Hebrew and
Yeah.
Greek. And so I would love to just get those deeper understandings of myself. So, and I brought up Shabbat because first of all, you mentioned a lot of my friends. I'm going to name them off. Mr. Terry Wilson, and thank you for your service, sir, of course. And Mr. Jamie Nixon and Crooked Eye and Ryan Martin. And also you were given a shout out last week at the State of the County in Schools for Robertson County Schools. And they had a picture of you in action at the audio visual class, and everyone was so excited that you were out now educating folks at Greenbrier. And so with all that being said, I give shout outs to my friends. There's so much going on in Robertson County. I mean, that's what I really want to push a
Really
message.
is.
I mean, and that's why the show One Street Over is so important, to make sure that you're connected. But just listening to what you're involved in now and who you're connected to, and now recognizing, hey, I need to do more of Shabbat. Have you always been working and it's had a busy life? And, what now? I know you mentioned, life is going on, but what really has motivated you to say, you know what, I need to take a break?
The study, and this is something that I have mentioned to people a couple of times, is my friend Shannon Baumgartner. I love you, sis. She came in here, and it was post-election, and I was just, people have all been asking me about the election, and I'm like, I'm voting. You do you. I'm voting. I'm out. God said you don't have to do that anymore, and people have often they'll come to me for political insight, and I'm not that person now, and I don't know that he'll ever call me back into that, but because I always worked in talk radio and all of those things, my routine was to always get up in the morning and turn the radio on, turn the news on. I gotta know what's going on, and it was just kind of eating me alive.
See.
And Shannon came in here, and she was just all bubbly and happy, and I was like, how are you not just in turmoil like I am? And she said, I don't know. I just give God my first fruits every day. It changed my perspective. I turned the radio off. I'm so sorry, 99.7. No, I don't turn you on first thing in the morning. Don't listen much at all anymore. Just saying. But don't listen much to political radio at all anymore. And I just shut it off. And I turned instead to studying the Word.
Wow, that's powerful.
I have always felt called into ministry. If I had the conviction of the calling I have on my life now, when I was a young person, I would have gotten my higher education, probably would have still, I don't know. It's so hard to say. I feel like if I were still in a place where getting an education was feasible for me, I would get some kind of a degree in biblical studies. I've got a friend of mine, she's getting her doctorate in biblical studies.
Wow.
I'm so proud of her. But that's something that it wasn't talked about for women in my era. So as I'm trying to kind of find my place, and I'm in deep study, I tell everybody I've got all these people who I follow. I call them my professors. One literally is a professor, and that's Christy McClellan. But I have a lot of preachers I follow, and I call them my professors because while I may never have the paper that says I have this degree in biblical studies, I'm going to do it myself, and I'm just consumed with it. That's all I do. It seems like, and so because of that, I've done some study on Sabbath, on Shabbat, and really it's not something it's this is the law. You've got to follow Shabbat. That's what the people who led the Jewish people made it to be, like a burden around them. It's, you can't carry your mat on Sabbath, and it's so funny. Jesus, if you look at his life, he liked to heal on Sabbath, and it's kind of like he liked to mess with people, going, "Oh, I'm not supposed to heal on Sabbath? Watch this," And so it was just kind of messing with that whole the way that man had defined it to be versus what God intended for it to be. And if you're not a person who takes a moment to just rest, you will find yourself really getting overwhelmed. And I've never, I guess, growing up in a farm community, in a farm family, you have to make hay while the sun's shining. And so while people would say Sunday is, you've got to do this on Sunday, well, sometimes you had to plant on Sunday because that was the only dry day you had. Some days you had to, to pick corn, or because that was the only day that you had. And you had to, it's not a mindset. I'm not a person, people talk about retirement, but that's not a mindset for me because I grew up in a farm family, so we just work. And so if you get too consumed with your work and you don't take time to rest, you can't be the best God's called you to be. It's like if you constantly just eat junk food and you don't take care of what you're consuming, you're not going to be the best you can be. There's so many things that if we don't take care of this, we can't do all the things God's put in our path because we're tired. And but if you live into what God's plan is and take a moment of rest and take care of yourself and not eat only junk food and all these things, if you'll be what God's, follow the things and the things that we see laid out in Scripture that were given to Israel, the early followers, the originals, the chosen. If we look at the laws that they were given, they were about keeping them healthy. It wasn't about pounding and making laws. It was like, this is how you will live well if you will follow these guidelines. And it's just so funny what we create it to be, and how we just get so caught up in the in the words and not the message. Does that make sense? 100%. I'm kind of rambling now, but you do this to me all the time. I bring you in to talk, and then you ask me something, and I go down a rabbit hole. So, but yeah, that's where I am right now because of my deep biblical study, and I just see the need for Shabbat. And so I'm going to enjoy a little bit of Shabbat, y'all. I'm just saying. So
absolutely.
There you go.
And I pray that's where I am, and that if I'm not, that's what I need to be.
Well, especially because you got young ones, and because you need to have time with your family.
It's so
more
important.
Than anything. Leading your family to Jesus is the first and foremost job you got.
100%. And so if we didn't talk about anything else today,
there you go.
Seriously, I mean that I try to hold I go through so much, so I try to hold my tears and my emotions, but it's so important. And I'll just going to read back to what, you were talking about. First of all, the mindset. And, respectfully, man's versus God and God's intentions. Where God, as you stated, it's about having a healthy life, having a healthy mind, healthy heart, healthy spirit. Respectfully, man, we work and we have good intentions, but it's just not the same. I believe I'll quote, unquote, is what what you said. And that's a good point, because sometimes you can't put it into words, what it's all about. And so having rest, and that's something that I'm learning, especially if, as you said, the list that I was going to talk about today, and all the stuff that I do in Robertson County, and I'm connected to and growing and building in. With those new opportunities, with those new relationships, come more activities. And because you build those relationships and you want to be accountable, and one of the things I wanted to talk about was I'm hosting a presentation tomorrow, free presentation online. I'll put the link up, getting comfortable being outside your comfort zone. It's a 40-minute presentation, and a part of that, it's basically around my five-step program of building the art of building long-term working relationships from scratch for your business needs. And the first step that I have is to become an extrovert, which means that you have to get out there and start connecting and meeting people. But in that, it comes more activities, more movement, and respectfully, it can get you away from the word and knowing God and getting closer. And even if you have good intentions. And so Shabbat, and that's why I want to learn the deeper meaning, because I just don't want to walk it. You have to really live it and have it in your heart. So having Shabbat and recognizing that is so important for me. And more importantly, for as we move forward in our great life and just through this time, it's going to be so important for younger folks at the minimum to make sure we keep that in mind, because there's so much to do, so much, and I don't want to use the word distractions, but that's in essence what it is. Distractions from the word, distractions from God, distractions from staying healthy mentally, physically, emotionally, by following what was created originally for, as you said, the chosen. That's for all of us, so I don't want to dismiss that, and I take that to heart. So I thank you for bringing that up. And in that, you even mentioned daylight savings. First of all, now I understand it. If you can help me, I understand that there's no longer any rotation in the daylight savings. Are you aware of that?
No, we just fell back.
Well, I like to speak out of ignorance, but I know about a year ago, and I know I read an article saying that the daylight savings may not, how we rotate, may not be happening moving forward.
Well, there's always been, I got to be honest with you, this has been a debate as long as I can remember.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's something that they've debated and debated and debated. Now, if there's something that has happened within the halls of government that I missed, but they talk about it all the time.
Gotcha.
It's been placed before. I guess it would be Congress that would have to do it, and then the Senate and all the whatever.
Yep.
But all our government stuff. So I don't know. Okay. I'm not sure of the process, but I believe it would have to be something that would have to be brought before the House and then the Senate and then the President. So it would have to go through a lot of legal steps to happen, and I think it gets proposed all the time.
Gotcha.
But to my knowledge, there's not been a change now.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know, but I know that we just fell back, and we will spring forward. So I don't know. I don't think so, but it is talked about a lot.
Well, and I'll have, if you don't mind, listeners, if you can fact check me and put it in the comments, maybe if there were any updates on that, to let us know. But ultimately, again, you mentioned as far as just the daylight, when you mentioned, sometimes, we have certain days we have to rest, but we're not growing up on the farm. There's certain days where you had to go out and get work done. You had to go out and do certain things. And so there is a fine line. There's what I took from what you're saying, there's a way of, instructions, but at the same time using discernment and knowing when to do things and use the example of, Jesus working on the Sabbath, just to kind of, so it isn't necessarily the end all to be all, but you do want to be mindful of the rest, and so you don't be consumed and you can be your best self.
Right.
And I just really want to reiterate, I think that's a very powerful message. And if nothing else, I want folks to, at least in my network that I work with and connect with, to keep that in mind.
Absolutely. And there's so many things people talk about, got to get the sin out of your life, and the things that consume us that aren't of God. And it's not God saying, trying to hammer on and say, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's just like, no, this stuff robs you of peace. I'm just, it's not that he's setting up there giving us all these law. This is, if you live this way, you will be a person of peace. Because if you look at the things that we call sin, when we engage in them, it robs us of our peace. And so when it says that God hates sin, well, he hates anything that robs his children of their shalom, peace. That was the word, the shalom. And again, this is all stuff I'm learning from Christy McClellan and Bobby Davis and Russ Corley and Tom Hayden and Jason Ball. Those are my favorites right now. The preachers, I'm just, listing them. So.
Do you work with them in person, or is it online, or how do you?
Russ Corley is our preacher at Madison.
Okay.
Bobby Davis is the preacher at Life Church in Cookeville. My children went to his congregation for a while when they were in college, and Jason Ball actually was his associate minister at the time and is now the preacher at Centerpoint. And then Tom Hayden is a man that he's just my brother. If something were to happen, if somebody were to have to, like if I were to get killed or have to have my funeral anytime soon, probably Tom would be the one that would oversee, because he's just somebody that he's really interesting. If you go to Northfield, and then Christy McClellan, she's a professor and she's an author. She's amazing, but Tom is one of those guys I just love. I was listening to him this morning, as a matter of fact. He was a accountant for an explosives company, and he's like me. He does not have a degree in Bible. He has a different degree. I have a degree in communications with a broadcast emphasis. And I believe, like I said, he has an accounting degree, but he has a call on his life to share the word, to share the gospel message. And when he started realizing that, he was teaching at the Madison Church of Christ, and we had a classroom that just kind of exploded into a congregation all in and of itself. Wow. And so they started wanting to do, a lot of churches will say, well, let's do a satellite church. I know Life Church up in Cookeville has done that beautifully. They've got like 5 or 6 of them, and some are able to do that. Well, as we stepped out into it, it very quickly became that what Tom was doing up in Hendersonville and Gallatin became kind of an entity of itself, and they branched out and became a community church. And so what they're doing there is just so beautiful. But again, that's my association with Tom, is because he and I both do not have the degree in Bible, but we feel that calling on our life. And he's just really stepped into it beautifully. I have no idea what God's doing with me. I really don't. I'm teaching, and I feel like that's going to be an aspect of what I'm going to do probably from now on in my career, I think, because I love it and I can see what we're growing it into. But there is a deep, deep calling in ministry for me, and from here, and I don't know what he's going to do with that. I'm waiting to see, and we'll see what happens. So, but no, these are all people. Yes, to answer your question in a very long, roundabout way, these are all people who, yes, I know to some degree, not personally, but I have been led to follow their work.
I see.
And a few I know very well, but.
So much going through my mind, you turn. Yeah. And one of the bigger things, and this is from your teachings that I've learned, that you're learning, that I'm listening to, but it's very important to be able to reach shalom, and Shabbat is a way to do that.
Absolutely.
And so, again, my ignorance, having those deeper conversations and be able to speak in that regard does make my relationship with God stronger, for me, with Christ stronger. And even in that, I'm going to stick to you mentioned man and God and, our intentions. And respectfully, at a time like this where the world, and I say this in with all due respect, but as we move forward with so many options, as human beings, we're becoming, I would say, right, maybe I can speak for me or what I see, a little more shallow in how we interact with ourselves, how we interact with other people, how we interact with the environment, because there's so many things going on where at a time like this, it's so important, as you use the words, to get deeper. It's very important, because not only for ourselves and just different experiences we go through, but respectfully, we have to make sure that we are educating and showing the next generation. I mean, if nothing else, before we leave here, what is the best way for them to reach shalom? Because you can only imagine, respectfully, what they may go through, and I just, if we are human beings and we're adults and being mature, if we're not focused on that, if nothing else, then we're not doing our job. We're not living a kingdom-led lifestyle, and I just think that as I go through so many different experiences that's based on man, I'm recognizing that aspect is so important. So even though I'm in these positions or I'm going through these opportunities, I have a whole list of things that we can talk about. If we're not keeping the deeper meanings in mind, respectfully, with all good intentions, we're not living a Christ-led life. We're not representing the kingdom. So like you said, this, to me, we can go through the whole thing that I have in mind, but that, and what I plan on talking about, is at the end of the day revolved around Shabbat and Shalom is what I'm saying. And so also when you were talking, and I always get emotional. I get into certain things that hit me, but at the same time, I realize, okay, well, that could be the Spirit moving in me. You know, you're getting those goosebumps, and so at the same time, like you said, you know, what can we do to move forward the needle, and to recognize and represent the kingdom? And so you going through your teachings and asking questions and learning has inspired me. And so if nothing else, if we can get at least, you know, the 10 minutes, and this is something we weren't planning on talking about, but I think this is the most important and powerful part of our conversation. So again, I just don't want to dismiss that, especially as in Robertson County and one street over, you know, I work with and represent a group of community residents, you know, that if they're not, I want to make sure they're connected to what's going on, you know. And so I'm always advocating your show. I'm always advocating, hey, you know, watch the show. I'm always advocating and bringing guests on to the show so that we can build that unification and that we all aware are, you know, what's going on one street over. And so I want to make sure that if there's anyone, my friends or family or network that's watching this, I want them to make sure that, you know, they are aware and to recognize, hey, let's make sure we're focused on the deeper meetings, even though we have good intentions as man. You know, it's so important at this point moving forward.
I love what you're saying, because you're basically, you see the importance of staying active and staying engaged. And this is one thing I got from Bobby Davis, and I've said it 1,000 times, I feels like, is that if it is within your ability to affect it or control it, it is your responsibility. If it's not, it's not your responsibility. Give it to God. The responsibility we all have to vote and to be involved in our community is our responsibility.
Yep.
And you're doing that beautifully.
Thank you.
I just encourage you not to get overwhelmed by it.
Okay.
And, you know, you've got a young family, and and you're doing that beautifully as
Thank
well.
you.
But don't let the busyness of life take you over. There's a quote, something that you said, talking about how that we all get so busy and we forget about Shabbat and Shalom. And there is a quote that I've heard Christy McClellan say many times by G.K. Chesterton, and it is, meaninglessness does not come from being weary of pain. Meaninglessness comes from being weary of pleasure. Okay?
Say that one more time,
Okay.
please.
Meaninglessness does not come from being weary of pain. Meaninglessness comes from being weary of pleasure. And that is G.K. Chesterton. And basically what it's saying is something that we've kind of gotten caught up in, and it's something that I was getting caught up in. And while in my mind, it was justified because it's all political and it's going to change the world, so I've got to just let it consume me. No. That is the calling that the world had for me, but it wasn't the calling God had for me. And so even those who, you know, Mark Green and John Rose and Bill Lee and Kerry Roberts and Sabi Kumar, all those who lead us, right? All those who lead us, it is your calling, yes, to lead us in a godly way, but it's also the calling on your life not to forget who you need to lean into for that Shabbat and Shalom, and not let it consume you. I mean, I think we can, when we look at that Chesterton quote, well, we say, well, I'm not pursuing things for pleasure. Well, when we let our jobs consume us, that is what we find pleasure in. You know, pleasure doesn't have to be, I'm going to the movies, I'm going to the bar, I'm going to this, I'm going to parties, pleasure can be going to too many social functions at church. Honestly.
Wow.
I mean, seriously.
Wow.
If you get your pleasure only from the things you do and not who you are, that is where this quote comes in. Meaninglessness does not come from being weary of pain. Meaninglessness comes from being weary of pleasure. And that just to me is powerful.
Wow.
And it just, all of these things that have come in my path lately have just set me on a different trajectory for life that I wish it's one of those. I hear Bill Jones, because Bill Jones is another one that's like just deep in study right now, and he's like, I wish I'd figured this out 50 years ago. And I'm the same way. I'm about to turn 60. Of course, 50 years ago I was 10, so yeah. But I do wish I had gotten to this place in my 20s, yeah. But it wasn't the plan God had for me, so that's fine. I'm there now. So, and I probably will be 70 going, well, I wish I'd have figured that out when I was 60, something, you know. And so if you just keep looking, man, God will just reveal some powerful stuff to you. But Anyway.
It's powerful.
Love you, brother.
Love you too.
Okay, listen, we're going to reset. We've been just all over the place because that's what we tend to do because I love talking to you because you just set my mind into so many different places and it's
Likewise.
inevitable. Usually you'll bring something up that I've been studying that morning, and so that's just kind of funny. Yeah, you did. But we do have to pause and take a moment for a break. I know that yesterday they ran the ad for Cumberland Connect, and I just want to very quickly say Cumberland Connect's coming to your neighborhood, you guys. That is something that we want you to go and check it out because they've got some seminars and things like that they're going to have for you. Let me see if I can find it real quick, and we're going to mention this, and then I'll move on to what I need to be talking about, which is my friends over at Veterans Motorplex. But if you'll go to www.cumberlandconnect.org and check out their seminars that they have going on to kind of help you understand everything that they have for you at Cumberland Connect. Do that immediately because, man, they are not going to be knocking on your door very soon. I know Chris Hunt said, hey, they're in my driveway. Trent Cobb was on social media going, I can't wait. My appointment's next week. I don't have an appointment yet, but I know they're getting really close. And that means high-speed internet. So we'll talk more about that because I'm not really supposed to be talking about them right now. I'm supposed to be talking about Veterans Motorplex. My friends, we're going to be wrapping up their sponsorship here at One Street Over because they're coming up on the end of their season. Now, they'll be picking back up when they come back in, but they've got one more race day. So we need you to just plan right now. I'm going to be there unless it rains or something like that. But if you want to know more about Veterans Motorplex, you go to Highland Rim Speedway on social media. They kept that moniker because they had a lot of followers, so they just changed the name on the banner. But it's Veterans Motorplex. Go and check it out because this Saturday night is the end of the season. Racing is going to start at 2 p.m. They're going to get it going. And it's going to have some demolition derby going on. They're going to have big prizes. They're going to name champions. Basically, it says they're going to have gates are going to open at 9. Grandstands are opening at 1 and race starting at 2. So that's what's going on this Saturday. It's going to be fabulous, though. But it's reason because it's the cold and all of those things. It's going to be a great night. The tickets go up $10 because of the extra things and extra features you're going to have. So it'll be a $50 ticket for 8 people instead of a $40 ticket for 8 people this Saturday. So what you're going to find is you'll be able to, for $50, you're going to be able to get in and have 6 kids and 2 adults. Again, the pits are going to open at 9. They're going to have drivers meeting at 11. Grandstands open at 1 p.m. The green flag is going to fly at 2. And this is the last chance of the year for you to get your racing fix right here. They've got Demolition Derby Slick Track happening too. It's going to be fun. It is going to be a blast. You're going to want to be there. Don't miss it. We'll be talking more about it on as we continue through the week, but I just can't say enough about what they're doing over at Veterans Motorplex, the old Highland Rim. This is your last chance to see it, and this will get you all revved up, so when the season starts back up in the spring, you're going to be ready to go. Some of my students were there on Sunday. They had races on Sunday this past week, and I cannot wait to talk to Madison and Chris about the fun that they had and the video that they got, and we'll be producing some of that stuff in our audio video class over at Greenbrier High School. Go and check it out. 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier. Their phone number is 615-643-8725. And when you get in touch with them, 643-8725, you be sure and let them know U-Turn sent you. And I know that was a real long ad, but I had so much I wanted to say. When I wasn't here yesterday to kind of talk about Cumberland Connect, and that's just getting exciting because so many people are getting high-speed. We'll talk more about that tomorrow, and they're going to pick up, I believe they're going to pick up sponsorship as Veterans Motorplex kind of steps aside. We're working on that right now. So we'll be talking more about Cumberland Connect and all of those things. So, all right, buddy, what you want to talk about?
Well, there's a few things as well, because Cumberland Connect, as I serve as an ambassador for the Robertson County Chamber of Commerce, has been doing some really great things, sponsoring their activities. So I look forward to connecting with Cumberland Connect. But in that, now I'm thinking, okay, Shabbat, you know.
Yeah, we're still off on what we were talking about. So.
So I've inspired. I'll just leave that last segment with so I'm on social media. There's this thing called it's like an X. Okay, it's like a letter X, and that's usually represents buy, B-U-Y. And so as I was listening to you, I was just thinking about what we just talked about. I was encouraged to, this came to me, Shabbat X Shalom. and meaning Shabbat by Shabbat. I'm sorry, Shalom by Shalom X Shabbat, meaning Shalom by Shabbat.
I like that.
And so I don't know. It's a message for me. I'm sorry, I got my words mixed up.
And vice versa, really.
And vice versa.
You could.
So
You
thank
could
you.
flip it around. Yeah.
I try to be respectful, especially when I'm speaking of just not knowing. But I do want to recognize truth and important information. You just have to. And so if nothing else, you don't have to be great to start, but you do have to start to be great. So I'm not perfect. I don't sometimes say the right things. U-Turn has been a huge help as far as helping me to just keep certain perspectives in mind, because a lot of people have different perspectives, and one thing it gets exhausting, especially when you're out there just trying to help and just be a hand. But a lot of times we get into everyone has their own perspective and opinion, and so I want to be respectful in that, and so for that reason, one of the things I wanted to talk about. And I'll just throw it all out there, what I had in mind, because I don't have anything in particular.
Okay.
These are things that I'm just going through as I go through my time in Robertson County. So if someone wants to say, well, what's Donavan up to, or what is he, working on or connecting with the people on? So for example, some of the things was last night was the Tuesday election, with the election and specifically election for Robertson County. Also, there was a update on LifeWise Academy. I missed you last month, but shout out to Lee Marie. She allowed myself and Commissioner Martin Morgan to come onto the show to invite people to the kickoff, and that was very successful. About 60 Sumner County, Robertson County residents that came and bought in and raised $500 that night to get the program started. And I want to talk about that if we had time. And worst case, I'll put all this information in the comments so folks can go on. I had a chance to participate or to watch a Civil War reenactment in Ridgetop last week, Morgan on the Rim. And that to me was so cool about the boys. That was a lot of perspectives too, that I received, in the communities that I serve. And as well as the American Legion Post 45, they're doing their turkey shoot, and again, shout out to Mr. Terry Wilson. And then I also have a presentation going on tomorrow. So those are the things that that are just going on in my world at the minimum, on top of running a business, and more importantly, helping to grow a family, so that shalom by Shabbat to me is so important. And like you said, and I think anyone and everyone should focus on, if you have wise counsel or those that have experience, you want to make sure you surround yourself with them and to listen, because they're going to help you save so much time. And if there's things that I wish I know when I was younger to be able to get things done, but imagine, like you said, if I'm able to take your knowledge and your experiences and use that now, and how much time and shalom I can receive, so it's very important. So I just want to reiterate that again, first and foremost.
I love you. You're so fun. And so how old are you, Mr. Old Man? If I were younger, what really?
36.
Okay, well, you're a child. My goodness. No, you're not. But you got a lot ahead of you.
Thank you.
So it's a lot of beauty. So yes, I mean, that's the thing. If you have that mindset of, like, I wish I had been more, I don't know, I guess I had people around me that I thought I was learning from. I have awesome parents, and so I always learning from them. But there's so many things that they didn't know, especially in the spiritual stuff, because they grew up Church of Christ, and so you have this is how it is, and you don't think outside the box, and you don't dig deeper into it. Boy, and I'm not going to go down this road because we want to talk to you. Tell me, how's your family?
Yes.
Talk to me about your family.
Yes.
How's your family?
Happy and healthy. We enjoy as much time as we can together. The boys were out of school yesterday.
Of course.
And Monday, so we had a chance to hang out and have a 4-day weekend. They don't have school on Friday in recognition of Veterans Day, so we get a chance to hang out then. And so we're very fortunate, man, and I'm just thankful every day to be able to just learn and grow from them, recognize where I have to get better. I've become a lot more patient, and I always tell my son, my oldest, Danavan III, Donovan, I really appreciate you, because I'm growing as a father every day, And
how old is he?
He's 13.
Wow.
13 now. 13.
They're great kids.
Thank you so much.
But they do have to go to school Friday.
They do? Oh, okay. Excuse me.
We
Dr.
were out
Fozzie.
Monday.
Okay.
We were out Monday for teacher in service. See,
Okay.
that's the reason they were out Mondays, because we had teachers in service. And then, of course, yesterday for the election day. But no, we're going to school Veterans Day. Most schools are having a program within the classroom.
Gotcha.
But no, they're supposed to be in school.
I appreciate that. And so
I'm a teacher. I'm keeping you.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. And I know I saw an email last night come in, and I believe my boys told me something in passing, and so I just kind of took that for granted. I know my wife is on it, so she probably was saying,
she's got it.
School, but again,
I love it.
I thank you for your patience with me, guys.
You know what? It's like when he sat down. He said, "Man, I'm running on empty. I was at Mark Green's party last night. I am tired." What was that atmosphere like? We have, if you're not aware, we will have a new representative in January. Mark Green, we were redistricted, and so now we're part of Mark Green's district. And John Rose will no longer be our representative, and I'm going to miss them. I love talking to John and Chelsea, but I've not really. I'm going to have Mark on. I've been given a phone number where I can contact him, so I'm going to be reaching out to him and get him in here. And I'd love to have, since he lives nearby, maybe he can come by. John living up in Cookeville made it difficult. We'd have to always get him by phone, but we might be able to get him to slide in here and be in the studio with us.
That would be awesome.
That'd be fun.
That would be awesome.
But what was the mood last night?
Great atmosphere. Ran into a lot of great friends, met a lot of new friends as well. Malik and the boys were with me, and
fun.
Any chance I can to hang out with them.
Yeah.
And I, I'm going to definitely do that. And so, and just also just for the record for my son, like I said, I just thank him because a lot of times my twins, Malcolm and Micah, they get the renewed or revised version of me, where when I connect with my son and he's 3 years older, I'll recognize, okay, I need to change this and do it different. So by the time they're his age, they get a different perspective. And so I said, son, you're always going to just get something new because I've never been there. So I really thank you all the time. And so that's my guy. That's my right-hand man. I love Malcolm Michaels.
I love that you say that about your son and that you're that honest with him. That is beautiful. That is beautiful that you're just like, hey, son, I'm figuring this out, man. I think that is beautiful.
Thank you.
That's so good.
Thank you.
You're such a good dad.
Thank you so much. And, and I want to shout out, my family that raised me. And that's why it's so important for men and women to be in your children's lives. It's so important. That's the foundation of it all when they go out into the world, And so when we say, hey, we want to have a godlike intention or a manlike intention, it starts with us as parents, guardians, whatever that looks like, So I thank you. And they joined me last night. I had a chance to, they're good friends with the representative, all of them, and Miss Green. And
seriously?
Yes.
You guys know, I mean, how'd you get to know these guys?
Just building relationships, and that's why I want to.
That's super cool.
And how we got to know each other. And again, when we connected, there were some, I guess, a statement by a good friend of mine now that said, hey, there needs to be more engagement, And so, and I appreciate you doing that. And at the time, that was an uncomfortable situation for me. And respectfully, that was a time where in 2020, 2019, there was a lot going on civically. And so I tried to stay out and so many perspectives, but it's been one of the greatest experiences of my life, and here I am now saying, shalom by Shabbat, so I mean it goes deeper than we understand. And so getting outside, and that's why I want to speak on tomorrow getting outside of, or being comfortable getting outside your comfort zone is so important. And so just yesterday, and so huge shout out to Representative Mark Green first of all, and thank you for all your friendship and hospitality. And I know he's prepared, and what my intentions or what I would like to see. And Dr. Representative Green and I have these conversations. We have it on recording, so I'll get these things out as far as the recap of last night. But I know Representative is being intentional in reaching out to diverse communities, urban areas, urban people, and people. And urban isn't just to be an ethnicity; it could be just a dense population. They're just different cultures, So he's working hard to make sure that happens, and I look forward to working with him to help bridge any gaps. And for that reason, at the same time, and Representative Green spoke on it, and he's in the interview yesterday that will be coming out soon, I do want to shout out his opponent, or that was a candidate as well, Odessa Kelly. She's a good friend of mine. I've known her for 10 years, well before she ran and even got into politics and went to run for office. And when she was representing one of Nashville's most poverty-stricken areas and working with kids to help make sure they have food and constructive activities. And naturally, when you do community activity and community service, individuals say, well, we're going to run for office and things of that nature. So over time, that's what it led to. And so I do, during campaign season and politics, people will say and do things, not only the candidates, but also the people that, support whatever side or whatever values. And so I do want to, and that was part of what I wanted to come on the show today, because we have to make sure that everything that we do is representing the kingdom, and one of the things that was actually, if you don't mind, and I'm not jumping all over the place because we're trying to get things in before the last 10 minutes, but I want to read this, so important, that came to my attention. Ephesians 6:10 through 12. If I'm not speaking out of ignorance, finally, be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. And those armors could include truth, righteousness, peace, faith, salvation, praying in the Spirit. And so those are things that I want to make sure we keep in mind as we go through whatever in life, because we're representing something bigger than the experiences that we go through. And so for that reason, if nothing else, I wanted to do an intentional prayer, not only for Representative Mark Green, but also I wanted to just thank Odessa for just exercising her right, and it doesn't matter. I'm not saying I agree with her and everything she says, but at the same time, she's a friend of mine, and she comes from a community that I come from,
Right.
and there's so many other things that people could be doing, so that's why we vote. That's why we have that process. Usually I don't say who I vote for, so it should be a private thing and just go about your business. But I do want to, if you don't mind, just want to do a prayer just to stand in agreement for Robertson County and the new district.
I think that's wonderful.
Thank you. Father, as I stand here with my friend, U-Turn Laverne, and the opportunity that she's continued to give me, and the connections, and I want to shout out Lee Marie as well for her continued just support. And for that, I want to give shout outs to their husbands, Mark and Stephen, for what they do and supporting their wives of doing the great work in this great work in the community. I just want to stand in agreement that Robertson County being a new District 7, and also the North Nashville, Northwest Bordeaux area of Nashville, which is a part of the district. So we're all family now. And respectfully, before I moved to Robertson County, I lived in the Bordeaux area. So either way, Representative, if he had been elected like he did last night, either way, he would have been my representative today for where I am. And so for that reason, I just stand in agreement for the representative to have a sound heart, mind, to do what he's been called to do it, to continue to do it integrally, to be accessible, to have conversations, to bridge gaps. And at the same time, I thank you, Lord, in advance for Robertson County residents as well as the residents of Nashville within the district. And of course, I say these things not only for the district, but the state, the country, and the world. But specifically in this prayer, just stand in agreement for us as residents, as constituents, as children of God, to come together and make sure that we're just being loving and respectful and of each other, so that we can build a long-term working relationship. So I just want to put that out into the atmosphere, that we can do that and we keep these things in mind, and just want to recognize your strength as all this goes on into the world, and which is the most important thing, is your power. And just stand in agreement, just recognizing you and just giving thanks in advance, for what you're going to continue to do for not only our county, but the district, the state, this country, and this world. And I say this in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Oh, that was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I tell you, we do need to go ahead and pause and do a break, and then we'll come back and we'll reset and finish up with Danavan Hylton. We got Lee Marie, I just saw pop in, so she's coming up with the Go Show right after us today. But let's go ahead and pause and talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. He mentioned in that prayer Robertson County and what a special place it is. Well, we know that, and more people know that all the time. And so if you're doing something in real estate, whether you're buying or selling, whether you want to be a part of what we have here in Robertson County, whether you're in Robertson County and you're thinking, well, I need to downsize, maybe I need to sell this property and get something a little bit smaller, or maybe I want something bigger, whatever it is you're doing in the real estate community, I cannot recommend enough Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team. They're even saying if you want to be a part of their team, come on and join them. They neither one started out in real estate. Rebecca was in radiology. Barry was a vice president of a media marketing company in Nashville for like 17 years. But he brings that expertise to the team as a marketer that's just incredible. But they both came to the table with something else that they started life with, and somebody said, hey, you'd be great in real estate, and it turns out they were, and they loved it, and they're saying that might be a good fit for you, and they'd love to make you part of their team. Great friends, great service. If you want to make sure everybody knows about your property, if you have something for sale, get a marketer involved, and that is Barry, a Zillow certified photographer, licensed and insured drone pilot, does the 360-degree virtual reality home tour. We'll get you up on realtor.com. They specialize in Robertson County properties, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties and across the state line in Kentucky. Cannot say enough about these folks. Appreciate them so much in their sponsorship of the program. If you have heard something that makes you want to give them a call, 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. Connect with them at sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, BY.com. Come on, you turn cinch, Danavan Hylton. what's next that you need to cover before we wrap this thing up?
Yes, just I'll just take 2 minutes and just kind of give an overall of what's going on, and I'll put in the comments how they can folks can get involved in the various things. So, just real quick, LifeWise Academy, they had the kickoff, very successful November 1st. That happened. I'm going to put in the link pretty much what LifeWise Academy is, and there was a
Malika has put something up there as far as a link. So,
Perfect.
yeah.
See, I'm a fortunate man. So,
you got a good bride.
So we'll put that in as far as LifeWise Academy. Also, Civil War reenactment. I would say, especially for the communities I serve, send me a message or U-turn if you're open to being an actual actor in the reenactments. And so, especially from the Black American, African American side, I think that's so important. And it's on either side. I'm going to be on both sides.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of pushback or perspectives on that. But at the same time, it's community engagement. We're learning something. And these are conversations that we have to have.
It's history. It's history.
I think it's so important to go.
Yeah.
We have to.
You got to understand it.
You have to. So make sure you send me a message if you're open to it. They have a reenactment coming up, a larger one, with this group that's going on in January as well.
Oh,
And,
that'll be fun.
Absolutely. And let's see. And again, for those that want to get comfortable being outside their comfort zone, to be able to do, what you're called to do, I'm having a free 40-minute presentation tomorrow from 12:30 p.m. To 1:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll put the link in where you can come in and really get a understanding as to knowing it's okay to be uncomfortable, knowing it's okay that these are opportunities and experiences that are going to help you grow and be the person you're designed to be. And so I'm not going to talk about the how, but the why more so. And so I'll put the link there. And again, I just want to make sure, if you don't know, to make sure you stop by or connect with American Legion Post 45 in Greenbrier. They're raising funds right now for their various programs dealing with Americanism, patriotism, youth, veterans. It's very important, and they do a lot of great work. So they're doing their turkey shoot every Saturday until November 30th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And you get a chance to shoot, and it's very organized, but you get a chance to shoot at a target. I'll put the link up. My youngest son, Micah, came with me this past Saturday, and he had a chance to shoot, got a cool hat, things of that nature. And so thank you again for the opportunity you turn, and make sure you are getting engaged in your community, but at the same time, make sure you are exercising Shabbat, because you want to make sure that you are experiencing shalom.
And that's wonderful. I just love how you recapped all that. But something you said about the reenactment they did, that is where Lee Marie met this woman, Susan Hunter, and she is the author of the book 77 Letters. If you missed the shows when she was on last week, oh my goodness, good stuff.
Okay.
And this is about the Vietnam War. Her mother wrote to soldiers and had this incredible relationship with one of the soldiers, and they unpack it. There's a lot of things about race. There's things about the Vietnam War. My goodness, the insight you get on history from this. And they're going to have a play. They're bringing it to stage November 18th and 19th. It's the Cornerstone Church, and I'm going to be talking more about this. I'm going to do my best to go. I'm not sure if my schedule is going to allow it, but I'm reading the book right now. And my plan is to read this to my students. We have what we call Cat Time, which is our homeroom, and literary initiative is something that they've got on the on task for us to do, and we have a hard time getting the kids to sit down and read. Well, maybe I can read to them because they need to hear this story. So that's my plan. We'll see if it all works out, but that's just something that perked a memory that I wanted to share with you from something that you said. We're going to wrap it up with our sponsor, Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. What's going on? You think, oh, there's nothing going on at the greenhouse because it's cold and they're cutting back the hours. No. You got to go in because they have got so many things happening inside. They have got sourdough bread, I found out, that they're selling from inside. They've got all kinds of craft items that you can get, and some of the things that Miss Jane has made. They've got these little bowl cozies to put your soup in the microwave so it doesn't burn your hands when you take it out. All kinds of fun things, and yes, they are your CBD source. If you're interested, my doctor told me to get on CBD, period. Well, then I went, okay, where do I go? I found out that they make it right here in Robeson County. It's Robeson County plants processed into the CBD that they sell at Corbin Creek, and they are open right now. They've adjusted their hours because of the cold weather. They're open Monday through Saturday from 10 to 4, and then Sunday they're open from 1 to 4. So take that hours adjustment. Just follow them on Facebook. That's the best way to stay up to date on everything that's going on at Corbin Creek Greenhouse and Gifts. And one thing, too, I'll tell you, if you want to have them help decorate your house, it's something Stephanie and Amy do. November's been sold out for a while. You might still be able to get a date, but you need to call them immediately, 615-384-3185, 615-384-3185. That's going to wrap it up for us. Donovan, any parting thoughts in the last minute?
Love you all, and see you next time.
Absolutely. Donovan Hylton, always fun. Tell them how to get in touch with you, your business.
Yes, Hilton League Marketing Agency, sales and marketing firm focused on Hilton League Marketing Agency, sales and marketing firm that provides business relations, business development, and community relations outsourcing. And that's pretty much helping the public, private, and community sectors increase their customer base or their presence in the community. If you need any advice, insight, resources, make sure you reach out to me in urban community specifically, 615-953-4969, 615-953-4969, the letter E, and the numerical number 1, connect.com.
Awesome. Donovan Hylton, appreciate you. And it's time now for Lee Marie and the Go Show. This is 1100 WSGI.